Hi, I'm Billy Cox. Wow. It's the 11th of July, 2022. And back in 1963, I was introduced to a man named John Pravlik. I'm from Massimo. He was a music teacher. He was teaching my middle sister, my central sib, Tori, mandolin, guitar, banjo, violin. What a guy, huh? Wait, and we understand they're string instruments and they use fifth intervals and, so a lot of it can transfer. Anything that doesn't tune like a guitar tunes like a violin, so there you go. Um, but he was a marvelous person. As far as an instructor goes, as far as a person who understood his profession of music, marvelous human being. Oh my gosh, he could do it. He could do what I think everybody that calls himself a musician should do. He could listen to the radio and stop at a stoplight and write the song he's listening to as it's playing. Okay, he goes up to A flat there. Wait, on manuscript. So it's a music sheet. By the time he got to my house to teach me, he had a music sheet from a pop tune he heard off the radio. Crap. What a guy. I mean, that's how you should be able to do it. You should be able to hear a song and say, okay, that's D flat. I can tell by the arrangement of the chord. That's D flat. And he's doing it in D flat, and he goes to the 4 chord there. Okay, that's F sharp. You know, everyone should be able to do that. If you call yourself a musician and you can't do that, you're not a musician. Not yet. You're struggling to be one. But musician is a title. It isn't an avenue of research. It's a title. It's a title granted to people that have mastered the language of music, that can read, get this, the technical diagrams of music, that understand the blueprints of music and what all the little marks on paper mean. You can't be a musician without knowing all that. That's what a musician means. That's what musicianship is. It's understanding the science of music. Ask a pro. I don't expect people to believe me because my thoughts often seem heretical. And sometimes I'm wrong. So check me. So anyway. Now I'm an indifferent musician. I can read a chart, but it takes me a while. I can figure stuff out, but it takes me a while. Sometimes, bang, well, it's a 3-chord song. I'm in it. Okay, I know this is to that like that is to that. Okay, I can do this. Right? But I'm an indifferent musician. And there's a story behind that. Back in 1963, I was being taught piano. And John Pravlik would write down a chart on his way to my house from the radio, because he wants to listen to kids' music if you're his age. But he'd listen to the radio on the way over, write a chart, set it down on the piano, say, okay, play this, Bill. And then I was supposed to practice it during the week. And at the end of the week, he'd come back for the next lesson. He would listen to me play the old song and give me a new one, and we'd go over it, right? It should have been simple. That's what he did with all his students. What a guy, really. But you couldn't do it with Billy Cox, because Billy Cox couldn't put 2 conceptual stones one upon the other. He couldn't hold a thought in his head more than, 8 seconds. So I never practiced, not once. I remember vaguely trying to practice, going, and walking away, or going hammering at the piano because I'm mad now. Well, John got the idea, and he came to my parents after 6 months and says, Mr. and Mrs. Cox, your son can't be trained. He can't play piano. He's not going to be a piano player. So maybe go with something else. And we all know I used to draw on everything, so maybe it was drawing. Maybe I'd be an artist of some kind. Maybe I'd be a coal miner. But I wasn't going to be a piano player. And I was 9 when that happened. I'm 68 now. 59 years later. 59 years later, just about this time of year too. And John is gone, and I miss him in the way that we miss our favorite teachers, because he was an important figure in my life, and he would probably understand what I mean saying this, even though the feedback I got from him, despite all his talent, his ability, and his experience in teaching people, the feedback I got from him was all negative. So at 9, I started off with completely negative feedback. Your son will never learn to play piano. And this is only the latest of several terrible disappointments from my parents. I can only detail the ones of which I was part, but the kids in my family were all unusual kids, so we had issues. And the middle sib has a story so worth telling. I wish I knew more of it, because she was amazing. Anyway. But I was told, effectively, my parents were told definitively, that your son will not learn to play piano. I certainly can't train him. So eventually my father said, well, if you're not going to learn to play the piano, then don't play when I'm home, because it disturbed him. So I was never able to play when my parents were home after that. My dad was home. My mom would sit through it because she had a big old electric typewriter upstairs going like that, so she could shut me on. I lived in a vacuum, artistically speaking. All my drawing was self-trained, artistically speaking. All my piano was self-trained, artistically speaking. All my knowledge of how to read music now, all my ability to take someone else's song and make it my own. If you don't know how important that is in music, you'll learn. It's a big deal. On my own. I'm an autodidact, musically speaking. Now, there was music all around me, and I have an ear, but it doesn't help me until ding one day, click, 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 those Lego bricks stick together, and I'm like, oh, that's what a circle of fourths is. And it might take me 30 years. Because my brain is struggling against many, many barriers all the time. All things I can't hold my attention to that I need to learn. All things that I can't make myself do but must. And then the only outlet I have, I'm told, no, you'll never be able to do that. You suck. You suck, Welcome. So that brings me to the point of my story. If you want to teach yourself something, if you want to learn something, find a way that allows you to absorb the instruction at a pace that you can manage. Do not let others define your learning process as good, bad, slow, or fast. That was never the point. The point is, did you learn? It's the only point. And if it's a hobby, or if it's something that you love, an avocation, something that you want to do it the best you can. Try to pick up little tidbits about it as you go. Don't close your mind to the nuances of it. If you love music, try learning to read it a little bit. That's so much better than guitar tab. You can't argue with me on this. I'm right. Learn a little bit of music, just a little, just enough to read some, so that when somebody says, hey, we're doing this, and you're like, okay, I start off in A, they're like, no, this is an A flat. You'd be like, crap, what? That's, how am I going to do that? If you learn just a little bit of music, you'll know, well, I just put the capo in one place, or I now play it in a different key. I now play it in A flat, and it's the same relationship. I played it in A, and it's A, D, and E, right? That's 1, 4, and 5 chords in the key of A. And the guy says, well, it's an A flat now, so you move your bar up to the A flat when you're playing in the first position, and you go A flat, Okay, and the 4 chord is right there in the same spot, the 5 chord is right there in the same spot, the same relationships hold, mathematically speaking, because the guitar is a wire, and if you half the length, you double the pitch. It's a real thing. It's science, the science of music. You can learn it easy, just a bit at a time. You don't need to drench yourself in it because, like me, you have 60 years. So don't let other people define your progress as fast or slow or good or bad. It isn't a matter of that. It's a personal journey, not a public journey. When it becomes a public journey is when you recognize one day, damn, I'm pretty good at this. And everything they said that was negative is either a goad that made me want to be better or something that rolled off my shoulders like water off a duck's back because, oh my gosh, I've grown as a person. This is a big deal. So, remember, I was told I would never be a piano player. I was told I didn't have the ability to play piano. You can learn to do things that people tell you you can't do. Now, there are some real barriers in life. I can't learn Chinese at my level because I'm unable to hold enough data, new data, to put enough data together to form a structure in my mind that will enable me to fit new data into it and make coherent sense out of it. I only pick up bits and pieces now. And soon that'll stop altogether and I'll stop learning. Ah, sad, isn't it? No, it's not. Because this is a process. And my process has been to show that I could learn to play piano. Doggone if I didn't. I'm an autodidact. I'm a self-trained piano player who can play anywhere that's not a jazz place. I could probably play. And in some jazz places in the afternoon when there's nobody there, I could play swing hits. Not well, but well enough to get through. And when the players come in, they'd be like, oh, that's cute. I don't mind. They're not defining my progress. I define my progress. Look, I got somewhere I wanted to get. I got somewhere I wanted to get where I understood something I didn't understand before, where I made progress as a person, where I was told it was impossible. You can do it too. Remember that. Don't let other people define whether your progress is good or bad, or fast or slow. If it's something that doesn't harm others, if you practice it, go right ahead. Maybe you'll be like me. Maybe you'll exceed me, and I'll applaud you on the way past.